My name is Eliza. I'm 29, and I'm the founder and CEO of Aura Digital Strategy. It's a multi-million-dollar marketing firm I built from scratch. But last week, I wasn't a CEO. I was just a daughter, back in the old house in Edmond, sorting through my late mother's things. The guest room was quiet, still. It smelled of dust and old perfume, the exact scent I remembered of my mom, Helen. I was packing her cookbooks when I found it, tucked inside an old Betty Crocker, a small, dark velvet pouch. My fingers fumbled with the drawstring. Inside, a single silver USB drive. No label, just cold metal. Curious, I plugged it into my laptop right there on the floor. Files loaded, campaign briefs, mood boards, taglines. My work. My old work, from 5 years ago. Every single one had been reused, word for word, image for image, aired by Midwest Media Hub, and every single one was credited to my half-sister, Chloe. The air left my lungs, a sharp, cold vacuum. My stomach clenched so hard it ached. Chloe, the golden child, my sister. How do you react when you discover the person your family gave everything to was secretly stealing from you? Tell me your story in the comments below. I read every single one. The USB drive was a ghost. Seeing Chloe's name on my work, it shouldn't have been a shock. It was just the final digital proof of a lifetime of difference. See, Chloe is my dad, Robert's daughter with his second wife, Brenda. Their son, my half-brother Leo, is 19 now, away at college. And me? I was the leftover, the one from before. My real mom, Helen, died when I was 17. The cancer was fast, brutal. One day she was teaching me how to drive stick in her old hatchback. The next, she was just gone. My dad remarried Brenda 6 months later. 6 months. Brenda swept into our house with her one-year-old daughter, Chloe, and an entirely new set of rules. Rules that only seemed to apply to me. From day one, Chloe was the princess. She got the ballet lessons I'd always wanted. She got new clothes every season, parading around in outfits I knew cost more than our groceries. On her 16th birthday, a bright red Mustang was parked in the driveway with a giant bow on it. I got hand-me-downs from a cousin. I got a bus pass. I remember the lunches. Brenda would wake up early to pack Chloe's lunch, little notes written on the napkin, sandwiches cut into hearts. I got a brown paper bag. Usually a single peanut butter sandwich, if I was lucky. Most days, I just scraped together change for the vending machine. It was the small things, mostly. The constant, quiet cuts. But the worst was the braces. My teeth were a mess. I hated smiling. Our dentist told my dad I needed braces, badly. Brenda sighed, loud enough for me to hear from the hallway. She told him we couldn't afford them right now. The budget was tight. 2 months later, Chloe got Invisalign. I confronted my dad about it, right there in the kitchen. He wouldn't look me in the eye. He just mumbled something about Chloe's bite being medically necessary. Later that week, I saw him ruffle Chloe's hair as she left for school, her smile perfect and white. He beamed. "That's my girl," he said. My stomach twisted. I locked myself in the bathroom until the bus came. You learn, quickly, what you're worth. You learn that asking for things only gets you silence, or worse, that look of pity. So I stopped asking. I just put my head down, saved my money from the diner, and waited. And now, staring at this silver USB drive, I realized that while I was waiting, they were taking. The real breaking point wasn't the braces. It was college. I worked my tail off in high school. I joined every club, aced every test, and poured my soul into my application essays, writing them late at night at the kitchen table after everyone else was asleep. I got in, the University of Oklahoma. I remember holding the acceptance letter, the paper thick and embossed. It was the first time in years I felt real. I'd earned a partial scholarship, a big one. I just needed help with housing. I brought the letter to my dad. He looked proud for a second. Then Brenda walked in. Dad sat me down at that same kitchen table. He cleared his throat. He couldn't meet my eyes. The family budget, he explained, was just too tight right now. Brenda had decided to put Chloe into a private high school, a very expensive one, and, apparently, now Leo, my half-brother, also needed braces. My scholarship didn't cover a dorm room. The message was clear: they had the money, they just didn't have it for me. So, I commuted, an hour each way, on the city bus. I'd wake up at 5 a.m., the sky still black, and wait at the corner stop, shivering in the dark. The smell of diesel exhaust and stale coffee. I'd get to campus, run to my classes, and then take the bus back to my night job at a diner just off the highway. I'd work until 11 p.m., slinging hash browns and refilling coffee, my feet aching so badly they felt bruised. The smell of grease clung to my hair, my clothes. I'd get home, study until 2 a.m., sleep for maybe 4 hours, and then get up and do it all over again. Meanwhile, Chloe got the full college prep experience. I'd hear Dad on the phone with his friends, bragging about Chloe, how she was thriving, how she had a dorm room right near the campus library, how she had a full meal plan, how her journalism classes were so fascinating. I listened to this one night while I was counting my tip money on my dresser. I had $14, enough for bus fare and ramen for the next 3 days. He was bragging about her classes while I was just trying to survive the commute. I lasted 2 semesters. My body just gave out. I fell asleep in a midterm. I was so exhausted, I couldn't think. I couldn't read a textbook without the words blurring. I finally dropped out, admitting defeat. The worst part? The spin. I overheard Brenda talking to a neighbor over the fence. "Oh, Eliza?" she said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. She just couldn't handle the pressure. Such a shame. She wasn't ready for university life. And my dad, who knew I was working 30 hours a week on top of a full class load. He just stood there. He nodded. That was it. I was 20 years old. I packed 2 duffel bags and a cardboard box. No one offered to help. No one tried to stop me. I moved into a tiny studio apartment above a 24-hour laundromat. The walls vibrated all night. The air constantly smelled of bleach and dryer sheets. As I was hauling my box up the rickety metal stairs, my phone buzzed. A text from Chloe. "Guess you're on your own now." I sat on my mattress on the floor and stared at that text. I didn't cry. I just went cold. I looked at the silver USB drive in my hand, back in my mom's dusty guest room. All those years, they thought I was nothing. They thought I'd failed. They thought I was just the girl above the laundromat. This whole time, it is not my mom knew. She'd saved this. She knew what they were. She knew what I was. The drive felt heavy in my palm, heavy with proof. Those years passed. Chloe's text, "Guess you're on your own now," I never deleted it. I used it as fuel. From that laundromat apartment, I started grinding. My first real break came when I was 22. I landed a freelance gig for a small oil rig outside Norman. They needed a new safety campaign, and they had no budget. I took it anyway. I lived at the library, studying their accident reports, designing mock-ups until my eyes burned. I created a campaign so clear, so effective, it cut their on-site accidents by 30% in 6 months. Word spread. Suddenly, other small firms wanted me. Pipeline startups, refineries. I learned how to write a proposal, how to negotiate a contract, how to close a deal. At 25, I drained my savings, every penny I'd scraped together, and officially registered Aura Digital Strategy. It wasn't glamorous. My first office was a single desk in a shared co-working space in Bricktown. 1 desk, 1 squeaky chair. I hired my first employee, a junior copywriter, and I was so broke I paid her 2 days late. She almost quit. My diet was instant ramen and 7-Eleven coffee. I didn't sleep, I just worked. But the work kept coming. I landed a statewide safety contract, then a massive rebrand for a midstream giant. The revenue climbed, 6 figures, then 7. I finally moved the company out of the co-op and into a real office, a sprawling loft near the arena, with exposed brick and glass walls. I hired a real team. I bought actual, new furniture, not second-hand junk. By 29 now, Aura Digital pulls in $12 million a year. We have clients from Houston to Denver. And my family? They know none of this. I kept it quiet. No social media posts, no bragging. When my dad, Robert, would call on birthdays, he'd ask, "So, what are you up to these days, Eliza?" "Marketing," I'd say. "Huh," he'd grunt, and then immediately change the subject to Chloe's latest triumph in her journalism class. They still thought I was the failure. The girl who couldn't handle the pressure. And that is the kicker. I'd hear Brenda at family dinners, gushing about how proud they were. How Chloe, at 23, had landed a prestigious job as a junior content creator at a big local station, Midwest Media Hub. Chloe would just smile, soaking it in, bragging about her title and the important projects she was working on. She had no idea. She still has no idea. Midwest Media Hub isn't some random station, it's a niche subsidiary I acquired 2 years ago. Mark, the branch director, runs that office. He's 35, sharp as a tack, and fiercely loyal. He reports directly to me, every Friday, on a private video call. Chloe started there 6 months ago, an entry-level hire. She's been working in my company, under my umbrella, this entire time, completely oblivious that the failure sister she mocked is the one signing her paychecks. And now, holding this USB, I know she hasn't just been oblivious. She's been stealing. The next morning, I called Sasha. Sasha and I go way back. We were freshman year roommates at OU, back when I was still trying to make the commute work. She was the one who taught me how to stretch $5 into a week's worth of groceries. She's the one who'd leave half her sandwich on my desk pretending she was full. Now, she's a senior cybersecurity analyst. She hunts digital ghosts for a living. I told her I needed help with something. Digital. I didn't give details. She just said, "Coffee's on. Come over." Her apartment is on the edge of downtown OKC, perched above a tire shop. The smell of vulcanized rubber hung in the air as I climbed the rickety, vibrating metal stairs. She opened the door in sweats, her hair in a messy bun. She didn't hug me, she's not the hugging type. She just handed me a steaming mug of black coffee. It said "World's Best Designer" on the side. A joke from our college days. We sat at her kitchen table, her laptop open between us. I didn't say anything. I just slid the silver USB drive across the table. Sasha raised an eyebrow. She plugged it in. The files loaded. She scrolled. Her eyes, usually darting around, went perfectly still. She looked up at me, her voice flat. "These are yours." It wasn't a question. I just nodded. Every single one. "Right," she said, and her fingers started to fly. This was her world now. She wasn't my old roommate anymore. She was the analyst. She worked fast, pulling timestamps, cross-referencing file paths, digging into the metadata. She muttered to herself, "No encryption. Sloppy. User ID." She built a timeline, a 5-year digital autopsy of my career. It was all there, every file, uploaded directly to the Midwest Media Hub server, every upload tied to a single user ID, C, Brenda, Brooks, Chloe. The first one, Sasha said, pointing to the screen, was 5 years ago, this Norman Riggs safety campaign. My blood ran cold. I knew that one. It was my first big project. I remembered being so proud of the mock-ups, I'd actually emailed photos of them to my dad. Just wanting him to see I was doing something. Chloe must have seen them. She must have logged into his email, pulled them, and passed them off as her own, even before she officially worked there. Sasha kept scrolling. "Here. This pipeline rebrand you did for that Houston firm. I saw it. My original pitch deck on the left. On the right, a video of Chloe presenting the exact same concept in a Midwest Media Hub meeting, labeled Chloe's Original Concept. Same color palette, same typography, the exact same tagline I'd agonized over for a week." Sasha just stared at the screen. She leaned back, crossing her arms. She didn't even change the font. She pulled up another window. Server logs. "She's not just lazy," Sasha said. "She's arrogant. Look at this." She pointed to the timestamps. "She does her best work after 10 p.m. nightly logins, downloading your folders, stripping the creation dates, renaming the files, and then re-uploading them to the station's shared drive. It was a system, a 5-year system of theft, all while I was killing myself to build the very company that was paying her salary. My fingers tightened around the coffee mug, the porcelain hot against my skin. World's best designer. The irony was so bitter, it burned. "Wait," Sasha said, her voice dropping. "Oh, you have got to be kidding me." She clicked on one last file. It was a video. I leaned closer. I knew this one. It was a 30-second spot for a refinery turnaround. This wasn't just some template I'd built. This was my baby. I'd spent 3 weeks on this single ad, sourcing B-roll from 3 different states, syncing the voiceover second by second with complex safety stats. It was dense, technical, and, I thought, brilliant. Sasha hit play. It was my ad, my footage, my script, my voiceover, verbatim, until the end. Right after the final graphic, just before the fade to black, she'd added a sound effect, a laugh track. A cheap, tinny sitcom laugh track, dropped right over the refinery's logo. I just stared. It wasn't just theft. It was mutilation. It was contempt. She'd taken my hardest work and turned it into a joke, probably because she didn't even understand it. She thought it was funny? I whispered. My hands were shaking. She probably thought it was creative, Sasha muttered, disgust in her voice. There's more. She pulled up the original brief I'd submitted to the client. My digital signature was at the bottom, dated. Then she pulled up the internal file Chloe had submitted at the station. The footer was new. My name was gone. My company was gone. It just said, "Produced by Chloe, Midwest Media Hub." Produced by Chloe. She hadn't just stolen my work. She had erased me. Sasha leaned back from the keyboard and let out a long breath. She started clicking, dragging files, exporting, encrypting. "Okay," she said, her voice all business now. "I'm exporting all of this. The server logs, the metadata, the side-by-sides, the original files from your drive. It's all going into a secure folder, encrypted and backed up on 3 separate drives." She looked at me, her eyes hard. "This is ironclad, Eliza. This isn't just family drama. This is intellectual property theft. This is plagiarism. This is a massive breach of her employment contract." She handed me one of the drives. "She's done. You have everything you need to absolutely bury her." I nodded, my mind racing. Done. Just like that. I thought about Chloe, bragging at the last family dinner. I remembered her gushing about her mentor, Mark, how he was so impressed with her concepts, how he was fast-tracking her. She had no idea. She had no idea Mark was my employee, that every brilliant concept she presented to him was work I'd done years ago, work he probably recognized but couldn't place. He just thought she was a genius. She was playing house in an empire I built. My phone buzzed on the table. The vibration cut through the silence, making us both jump. I looked down. It was a text from Chloe. "Hey, family BBQ this weekend at the house. Dad's grilling. Bring that gross bean dip you make. Oh, and Mark's coming. Can't wait for you to finally meet my boss." I read the text twice. Mark's coming. She wasn't just stealing from me. She wasn't just lying to our family. She was going to parade my employee in front of me, at my family's home, as the ultimate proof of her success. Success she had built entirely on my stolen work. A slow, cold calm settled over me. The shaking stopped. It was perfect. Sasha watched me. "What are you going to do?" I picked up my phone. I typed back one single sentence. "Sounds great. I'll bring the laptop." The backyard in Edmond looked exactly as it had a decade ago. Same leaning fence, same patchy grass. Dad Robert was at the grill, poking at burgers, smoke curling up past the same tacky red and gold balloons he always got for parties. Brenda was bustling around the picnic table, arranging trays of kleslaw and cornbread, her face set in a permanent, tight smile. I walked in, my laptop bag heavy on my shoulder. I didn't bring the bean dip. Leo, my half-brother, grunted a hey from his lawn chair, not looking up from his phone. Then, Mark arrived. He was exactly on time, wearing a crisp navy blazer, looking completely out of place. He shook my dad's hand, nodded politely at Brenda. Chloe vibrated. She practically leaped across the yard, grabbing Mark's arm and steering him toward the center of the patio like a prize. Her voice was high, sharp, cutting through the chatter. "Everyone! Everyone! This is my boss, Mark," she announced. "Mark, this is my family. Mark is the reason I'm absolutely killing it at the station." Dad clapped him on the back, beaming with a pride I'd never seen him aim at me. "We hear that. Our girl's a real star." Brenda just beamed. Finally, someone who recognizes her talent. Chloe soaked it in, her eyes shining, looking right at me. "See?" her smile said. "I won." My heart was beating slow and steady. This was it. She wanted to show me her boss? She wanted to show me her success? Fine, I'll show her mine. I walked over to the picnic table, right next to the class law. I set my laptop down. I flipped it open. I hit play. The screen lit up. There was no sound, just data. Sasha had done beautiful work. On the left, my original campaign briefs. Dated. Stamped with my old freelance logo. On the right, Chloe's aired segments. The pipeline rebrand, side by side, identical. The Norman Rig campaign, identical. The timestamps from the server logs glowed in bright, angry red next to Chloe's user ID. The backyard noise just stopped. Forks froze. Dad's spatula hung in the air. Chloe's smile faltered. Her voice was a strained whisper. What is this? Eliza, turn that off. That's private." She lunged for the laptop, her hand outstretched to slam it shut. Mark moved faster. He stepped right between her and the table, blocking her. His voice wasn't warm or friendly anymore. It was sharp, clear. "Private?" he said. "This is company property." He leaned closer, his eyes scanning the screen. I watched his expression harden, from confusion to disbelief, and then to a cold, professional anger. He looked around the table, his voice carrying over the entire yard. "For the record," he said, "I don't run Midwest Media Hub. I just manage the local branch. It's a subsidiary of a parent company." He paused. Brenda, confused, prompted, "Aura what?" "Aura Digital Strategy," Mark said. Then, he turned. He looked directly at me. "Eliza owns the parent company. I report directly to her." The world stopped. There was no sound, no crickets, no traffic, just the hot, sudden pressure of absolute silence. It was a physical thing, pressing in on my eardrums. The blood rushed to my head, hot and pounding. Leo dropped his phone. The crack of the screen hitting the patio stones was like a gunshot. Clatter. Dad's metal tongs hit the grill, sending sparks into the air. Splat. Brenda's tray of Kleslaw slipped from her numb fingers, splattering across the grass. Chloe just stared at me. Her face was white, chalk white. The color drained so fast it looked painful. "You?" she stammered. You're my boss?" Mark didn't look at her. He pulled a folded folder from his blazer's inner pocket. "This," he said, his voice ringing with finality, "is a record of 5 years of intellectual property theft, plagiarism, and a severe breach of your employment contract." He finally turned to her. His face was like stone. "Effective immediately, Chloe. You are terminated." No one moved. No one spoke. Chloe's mouth opened, then closed. A single, silent gasp. She stood alone in the middle of the yard, surrounded by spilled food and cracked glass. I reached out. I closed the laptop. The screen went black. I slung the bag over my shoulder, turned, and walked toward the gate. I didn't look back. Dad Robert knocked the next evening. I opened the door to my apartment. He looked smaller than I'd ever seen him, rumpled and gray. He didn't ask to come in. He just stepped past me, holding a thick manila envelope. He paced my living room, the envelope tapping against his thigh. "We need to talk," he said, his voice raspy. I just leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "Go on." "Chloe is devastated," he said. "That misunderstanding at the barbecue. It wasn't a misunderstanding, Dad. It was a termination." "She's your family," he snapped, his voice rising. You can't just ruin her over some files. She ruined herself. He stopped pacing and threw the envelope on my coffee table. It landed with a heavy thud. $250,000, he said. It's an advance on your inheritance. From your mother's side. I stared at the envelope. Take it, he pushed. Just take it. Drop the claims. Tell Mark it was all a mistake. Let him reinstate her. I didn't move. You think money fixes this? It fixes the silence, he said. Sign a non-disclosure. Say the campaigns were collaborative. Everyone walks away clean. The doorbell buzzed. I glanced at the security cam. It was Leo, my half-brother. I let him in. He brushed past Dad, clutching his phone. Dad, don't, he said. Leo, go home. This is private. No, Leo said, his voice shaking. He looked at me. I have to show you something. He works as a volunteer intern at the local charity fund, the one Dad manages. Leo put his phone on the table. A video call connected. Grainy feed from his dorm. On the screen. Bank statements. Charity ledgers. Transfer records. I found this last week, Leo whispered. I didn't know what it was. $75,000. Went missing last year. Dad lunged for the phone. Turn that off, Leo! Leo swiped the phone away. It went to Chloe's condo down payment. I found the wire transfer. It was marked consulting fee. It was the same day she closed on her place. My blood went ice cold. I picked up the thick envelope Dad had brought. I tore it open. It wasn't a personal check. It was a cashier's check, drawn directly from the charity's account, signed by my father. He was trying to bribe me. With more stolen money. He backed toward the door, his face pale. This is private family business. Leo faced him, tears in his eyes. Embezzlement isn't private, Dad. I held up the check. You stole from a children's scholarship fund. To bail her out. His face crumpled. I was protecting my daughter. I took a step closer. My voice was quiet. Which one? He had no answer. He just grabbed his coat and slammed the door. I looked at the check. $250,000 of stolen hope. I tore it in half. Then in quarters. I let the pieces flutter to the floor. The threats started within the hour. Chloe's texts came first. A frantic barrage. Please, Eliza, I'm sorry. Delete the files. We can fix this. We're sisters. Then, when I didn't answer, they turned dark. If you don't stop this, I'll tell everyone you're jealous. I'll tell them you're unstable. You'll lose clients. Aura Digital will collapse. I blocked her number. Then came Dad's letter. Sent by courier, on the charity's official letterhead. A typed formal demand. Withdraw all claims. Sign the attached waiver. Or we will go public with a story about your empire being built on lies. How you used your mother's death as an excuse. Your reputation will end. I read the waiver. Non-disclosure. Full retraction of all claims. I picked up my phone and forwarded everything, the texts, the letter, Leo's bank statements to my lawyer, Miss Diaz. She called me back in 10 minutes. This is extortion and, wow, this is also felony embezzlement. We're filing a cease and desist immediately. Formal letters were sent. Certified mail. Any further contact would result in immediate legal action. The fallout was nuclear. Chloe was blacklisted. The IP theft flag on her record made her untouchable. No station, no agency, not even a local blogger would hire her. Her condo went into foreclosure. Last I heard, she moved into a tiny studio apartment near the highway, the kind with weekly rates. Dad faced the charity's board. Leo's evidence was irrefutable. The audit confirmed the $75,000 and found the $250,000 he'd tried to bribe me with. He took a plea deal. Embezzlement, 3 years probation, full restitution, and community service at the very fund he stole from. He wears an ankle monitor. He's banned from every charity event in the state. Brenda filed for separation a week later. I moved. I packed up my apartment. I put Sasha in charge of liquidating the OKC office. My best people were given relocation packages. The new headquarters in Denver was waiting. A clean start. My company didn't collapse, it thrived. That $12 million a year? We're on track for $15 million. I changed my number. One evening, a few weeks ago, I was standing on the rooftop patio of my new office. The air was cold, crisp. The Denver skyline glittered ahead, the mountains dark and sharp behind it. My phone was silent. No angry texts, no threatening letters. Just peace. I closed my eyes and, for the first time in my life, I just breathed. Cutting ties wasn't revenge, it was a release. Chloe learned that actions have consequences. Dad learned that privilege has a price. And I learned that family is not an obligation. It is not a blank check for betrayal. Blood does not excuse theft. Blood does not give anyone the right to tear you down. Protect your work. Protect your peace. Protect your future. Walk away when you have to, and rebuild, stronger. That's the truth I live now, and it's more than enough. If you've ever had to choose between your family and your own survival, subscribe. You are not alone.